Hello, and welcome to Fucking Around and Finding About, or this is a story all about how my life got flipped and upside down. And if you take a minute, just sit right there. I'll tell you how I have ended up in Japan for 2 months by basically pure coincidence. I spent 5 hours in a police station yesterday, not because I committed any crimes, just by pure coincidence. And yeah, sorry about the video quality because I am traveling. I don't actually have like a proper camera. I mean, I could probably use my phone, which has a far better camera than this, but I find it quite cozy. I'm sat here under the kotatsu. I have a cat shortly away from me, and hopefully this is using the mic from my headphones and not my laptop mic, because they are far better at capturing sound. And I do have my actual microphone with me, but I kind of like this. It's kind of given 2008 kind of vibes, and I like that for me. And so I'm not going to edit anything. I'm just going to upload it in this quality. We can call it an aesthetic. um so where the story starts is, I once I realized that my relationship was going downhill with my ex, planned to make good on a promise that a friend of mine and I had made back when we were in high school. And you know, young weeb days, watching anime in 3 parts, because YouTube didn't allow videos more than 10 minutes long. um so from back there, we said to each other, when we both have graduated from high school and have saved up enough money, we will go to Japan together. And so he basically says, you've been to Japan a number of times. I trust you to plan the trip. And I send him the itinerary for the trip, and it's got basically every touristy thing I can think of. He no longer is heavily into the weeb stuff, and I don't really watch anime these days because there's no time between getting up to shenanigans and watching VTubers. So I like I had things that I wanted to do, um, merchandise that I wanted to try and hunt down. I There's only a couple of things that I actually put in the itinerary for my own personal reasons, and one of those was the theme parks. And so due to that, I had it on there, like, in Osaka, you go to Universal Studios, and then we will purposely stay out in Maihama at one of the Disney resort hotels, in order to make it easy for us to go to Disney. And then it's part of the way out to where Niji Fez was, to make it easy for me to get out there. And so he's seeing all this, and then I show him some of my favorite rides at like Universal Studios via video, and he's like, "Oh, I don't think I ever told you, but I'm scared shitless of like things like that." And I was like, "Well, I literally put 3 theme parks in our itinerary, and you're letting me know that right now when we're about to head there." And because I'm a thrill seeker, like, I've gone skydiving. I will go on the most hardcore rides at the theme park and basically just laugh the entire time. And so I'm like, okay, well, there's no point in us going, um, if all that you're going to want to do there is go to like Nintendo World. um because I want to do Jurassic Park, and that's like a fucking hour long wait. And then you get on the roller coaster that, so basically you get on it, you get strapped in real good, and then you go like this, and the entire time um you're horizontal on this ride. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess I can cross that off the list then. Then once we get to Osaka, so slightly different time zones from where I live and where he lived, but like where I live, it's like 1 hour away from Japan time, so I'm staying up until midnight and we're sharing hotel rooms, and he's falling asleep at 8 p.m. And so I'm like, well, fuck it. I'm going to take my deck of playing cards down to the smoking room, and I am going to play poker against strangers using 1 yen coins as chips, because fucking useless ass pieces of shit. I fucking hate 1 yen coins. Um, but they make a very good proxy for betting. So, and there was a time that I took down my tarot cards and I did tarot readings for strangers down there. Um, so that's what I was doing when he went to sleep. And then he is having issues with his girlfriend because they've only just gotten in a relationship. And she doesn't like the fact that he's traveling solo with another woman. And he's like trying to placate her and being like, dude, we've known each other for like 17 years. I knew this guy. Um, and if anything was going to happen, it would have happened by now, so you don't have to worry about her. So he's got her stressing out on one side of things. I am not really having that much fun on the trip because of that. My like most fun that I was having would be like we hung out with a guy for a bit in Akiba who has literally been getting like basically blackout drunk and like having sex the entire time. And we were like, okay, what's like the most kind of shocking thing that we can show my friend? And given that the day before when we were at like Amiyoko, the shopping district in Ueno, he saw a t-shirt that had bare breasts on it, and he was like, "Oh my god, that's out in public. Children could see that." And we're like, "Okay, let's give you an actual surprise." And so we took him to a store that only sells JAV, and he's just walking in and being like, "How many more rows of shelves are there? There's and this is all porn?" And it's like, "Yes, yes, it is." So we were also trying to convince him to go to like he initially wanted to experience a hostess club, and then we're like, hang on, we could turn up like the heat on where you can go, and as long as you let the other guy do the talking, no one will know that you don't speak Japanese. And I was like, but I won't get in. um and he was just kind of like, you know, damn, I should have postponed getting in a relationship further in order to experience that kind of thing. And so, due to that, he then actually started getting really, really tired. And he's like, well, how about we go back to the hotel for a bit and I can nap and my legs are sore and blah, blah, blah. And I don't know whether he chickened out or whether it was true, but his girlfriend would not have liked that. And so we went back to the hotel. I did my usual bullshit of buying myself a couple of drinks and going to the smoking room and playing cards with strangers. And he then, due to his relationship breakdown and the fact that I don't think he realized that, well, if you hard, you hard, and I go hard when I'm in a situation where I'm not having to work at the time. So, yeah, I'm just like, dude, we've only got like 3 weeks here. So, let's make the most of it. We get to Osaka, and people go a little bit differently to how they do in Tokyo. So I'm I'm drinking a bit more. I'm having more fun. I'm just kind of letting loose a bit, and then via Instagram DMs, I get a message from him, and he basically was like, "You're not the person I knew when I was growing up," and it's kind of like, well, actually, yes, I am. Um, sneaking out of the house and drinking liquor that my friends bought from, like, stole rather from like their parents' liquor cabinet, um, and getting up to all sorts of antics. That was just how things were for me and my friend group, which was slightly separate from his friend group. And so I'm like, yeah, let's just have some fun. You've like killed my vibes of wanting to go to USJ, and so now I'm going to just hang out here for a bit. And it was, yeah, um, his girlfriend broke up with him on Valentine's Day, by the way. So he then booked a flight for the very next day to try and go home and win her back. So, and I only found out this via Instagram message, and then he said, "I'm going to cut off this friendship," which was interesting because how were you not aware of like what your upperclassmen in high school were doing? Like, but that's just, I think, I think that the reason why he was not in the main friend group and like tangentially related to us, aside from being in a different year level, was because of anime. And then I ended up becoming good friends with him, and then, but I don't think there was much crossover between the world of what we were getting up to and what he was getting up to, because after school, I mean, I spent 6 out of my 7 days at the dance studio, because I did ballet, tap, contemporary, musical theater. Like, the only, basically the only form of dance that I haven't done some kind of lesson in is ballroom dancing. Like, I was part of a can troupe for a while. Like, you you just kind of lose your afternoon, and your evening, because I would go to school, do school, and then sometimes have 3 consecutive classes back to back at the dance studio. And so I didn't really get to experience normal childhood. However, nighttime antics, they are a whole new level. So when your teenage years, go to school, go to the dance studio, do singing lessons, and then by that time it's it's already 9 p.m. and you're going home and you're like basically shoving food in your mouth. I didn't study at all during high school. I absolutely winged things. The only thing that I actually put effort into studying was Japanese. So I failed math 2 years in a row. I wasn't allowed to go to my school ball one year from lack of attendance because I was going to acting auditions and receiving phone calls from my agent mid class where I just had to skedaddle basically. And then I was kind of like, why school when you can entertainment industry? And locked in hard there. And then like what I actually initially wanted to do when I left school, I got into university and then dropped out. I never attended a single class. I basically I got my letter of acceptance and then I'm like, nah, no, not wanting to do that. And then so after that, yeah, it's kind of like the entire shenanigans that you get up to throughout various points of your life. And as like, yeah, what doesn't kill you gives you a good story. But anyway, so I experienced that. I end up very sick for a few days. And then I'm like, okay, he never paid me back either, because I paid for the trip. And then the deal was that he was going to get the equivalent in cash out for me. And it took me like 3 days to actually have him go to a seven bank ATM and withdraw it. So, and he only paid me for the first hotel. He did not pay me back for the flights. He basically also accused me of financially ruining him because of his own decision to fly back to New Zealand to try and get back his girlfriend. Um, so that's on him. And then I'm like, yeah, but you said that you were going to pay me back and you never did. So that was just an entire thing. But I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm going to fucking go to Disney alone. I've got an event to go to and I'm just going to live my life. And due to a combination of a storm at home and then it randomly snowing here, um, I ended up unable to travel home on the dates that I was meant to. Um, I have got my flights rebooked, and that is, well, technically tomorrow now. So I will be going home, and because of not having my flights be able to happen when they were booked, I was like, shit, this guy's left me out of pocket. And I now need to rebook flights home. And unfortunately, due to that, I was like, fuck, 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 fuck. Oh well, we ball. So I did a 360 and moonwalked away, and a friend has been letting me stay with her, and we've been getting up to some shenanigans, like going to like themed hostess bars and stuff like that, and just kind of living life. So I I haven't exactly been leeching off of her. I wouldn't say that at all, because she's been enjoying having my company. Um, so she's like, as it basically, if it wasn't for her, I would just be like, shit, now I'm homeless in Japan. Which, I mean, technically, kind of am, but given that she's taken me in and let me stay with her, I've got a place to live, and I've got a cute girl who's far more proficient in Japanese than I am. So every time that I stumble on something, I just can kind of let her take over. And so that's like my situation with the trip up until that point. Then, as I said, been getting up to some shenanigans. Last night we were drinking kind of heavily, and when I woke up, I said like I feel like I'm about to like have a disassociative episode where like brain and reality just do not connect. This resulted in me walking like kilometers after getting lost, and then after talking to three different people to try and get help to either give me directions to get back home or to basically, if you get lost here and you call the police or someone else calls the police and you haven't committed a crime, um, they are very, very nice and will take you home. So I got lost, and then I ended up, because I didn't have my phone with me, I was just initially going to do a conveni run and got lost. And then, so I end up at the police station and they're asking me, like, where do you live? And because I don't navigate with street names, I navigate with like visual icons. So I'm like, okay, so you've got like, here's this conveni and here's like a donkey. And then if you go like left and then right, right, left. So then you get to the street, and then there's like the specific arrangement of vending machines. And so I'm like, I don't got street names for you, man. I've got the name of a building. And so we end up in a situation where the police spend 5 hours trying to figure out where I live. Um, I ended up talking about anime with a police officer for like a good 30 minutes. We turns out that he also really likes JoJo. Hunter x Hunter is his favorite anime. He watched Yu-Gi-Oh up until Zeal. Um, he follows Detective Conan. Like, it's all very kind of mainstream tastes, but and funnily enough, for someone who's a police officer, he really likes psychopaths as well, which is one of my favorite animes. And so I like was telling him about the merchandise that I have for the series, and then um, when he started noticing some of my tattoos, and I told him that everything is related to something that I've played or read or watched, he asked about that one. And so I'm sitting there in a room with the nice police officer who's been talking about anime with me for the past 20 minutes and being like, "Oh yeah, no, I actually have a Yu-Gi-Oh tattoo, and it's ironically Kiryu's criminal marker, but it's around my wrist." And so he laughed and said that it was very, very funny, but like, I'm, I'm not at risk of being arrested. They're basically just taking care of me and making sure that I'm okay while we're trying to figure out where the fuck it is specifically that I live. Um, like, there's an older police officer who kind of gives me the vibes that he was a bit of a delinquent back in his day, and rather than using Google Maps to try and identify where it is, he's got this book like this thick of street maps and is trying to like follow a drawing that I drew him of like the street that I live on, or have been living on. And so he he's rifling through this. There was at one point where someone had a relatively genius idea, actually, if it was like, I don't know, 15 years ago, before everyone had smartphones and just Google Maps their way around, and then cars got their navigation things put in them. And he figures, okay, well, why don't I ring a taxi, and instead of actually ordering a taxi, I describe what you've described. And so he's on the phone to trying to get a taxi to give him an idea, and they're just like, we don't fucking know, bro. And then following that, I fall asleep. I then have the genius idea of going onto Instagram, logging into my account on one of their computers, and messaging my friend so that we can get the address. And then, so we managed to do that. And yeah, like, and I got home and I'm safe and I'm under the kotatsu, and you just saw the cat walking behind me, and he's being cozy. And yeah, so that's where I am right now. And yeah, no, like if it wasn't for her, I would have been trying to find like my embassy to get me help home or something. Like, bro, it's, and it was like struggle country for a while, where I was literally going, well, do I then just stay in like internet cafes until I can get myself home? And I don't have any obligations until the 28th, and then after that, that's when I have to return home by. So that kind of put the end date on my trip here. But no, I've been experiencing many things. I did not expect to end up lost and having a conversation about a hunter hunter with a police officer. And so that's, yeah, that was very, very interesting. And once we actually managed to find where I was going, when we headed out to have the police drive me home, um, we got congratulated by the lady police officer who was in the office for a little bit while I was there, on managing to find it. And yeah, I also am going to end it here because I want to rewatch this before I upload it anywhere, and make sure that it's actually recorded sound, and that I've managed to somewhat eloquently, but like my brain skips fucking hopscotch level of scrambled eggs sometimes, so I will be rewatching it through, and then I will probably, given the time of night that it is, um, have a little bit of cheese as a treat. And I mean that literally. There's cheese in the fridge that I'm gonna just fucking shove that shit in my mouth, because that's what you have to do sometimes. And then wash my makeup off and find someone playing a video game to listen to as I fall asleep because I can't sleep to silence. I always sleep while listening to things to the point where I find it more comforting to have someone playing like Apex Legends or Valorant in the background than I find silence. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the wacky and bizarre story that is my life, and I might continue vlogging a bit more over here, and hell, I may actually keep up like this video quality because, dude, I was an emo kid, and you never grow out of that phase, and so it gives me nostalgia for also like back when I was an actual kid where we didn't have satellite for the TV, so and you had the rabbit ears on top, and if the weather was bad or they got knocked slightly, it would change from being quality slightly better than this to basically being black and white and then white noise, and that was TV time was over and you'd put on a movie. You'd sit in the living room with your family and end up with severe trauma surrounding the Titanic. Um, well, actually, boat disasters in general, because your dad, while you were sick from school at one point, while you were far too young to watch it, ended up watching Poseidon and The Perfect Storm. And my greatest fear is of drowning. My second greatest fear is of cows because those guys are big, and if they decide to attack you, you're screwed. You would not win, and you would not win beef against beef. So yeah, bye bye.